Victoria Hayes' voice sliced through the air like breaking glass. It didn't waver. It didn't hesitate. She simply spoke the words everyone heard, but no one expected. Maya Chen is terminated from this company, effective immediately. The silence that followed was so heavy that some people stopped breathing. Maya, seated across the conference table, didn't move. Her hands, perfectly still on the mahogany surface, revealed nothing. But something in her eyes changed. Something small and definitive, like a door closing from the inside. No one in that SoMa boardroom, with its floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking Market Street, knew that just 4 nights ago, these same 2 women had been together in a darkened apartment, with the lights of the Bay Bridge twinkling in the distance. No one knew that Victoria had kissed Maya as if the world were ending. No one knew that Maya had whispered against her neck, "I can't keep being your secret." And no one, absolutely no one, knew that Victoria had responded with a silence so long it hurt more than any words. Now, under the cold office lights, Victoria maintained her mask. CEO of Innova Tech Solutions, 34 years old, charcoal gray Armani suit, black hair pulled back in an immaculate bun. She had built this company from nothing. She had fought in a world of men who didn't take her seriously. She had sacrificed everything: time, relationships, dreams, and the one thing she couldn't afford was weakness. The one thing she couldn't show was fear. But in this moment, watching Maya rise from her chair with a dignity that broke her heart, Victoria felt something like panic climbing up her throat. Maya gathered her iPad, her moleskin notebook, her Mont Blanc pen, the same one Victoria had given her 3 months ago after closing the Samsung deal. She did it slowly, with precise movements, as if she were collecting fragments of a life that no longer belonged to her. "Maya," Victoria began, but her own voice sounded strange, almost pleading. Maya looked at her, and in that look was something worse than hate. There was indifference. As if Victoria Hayes, the woman who had occupied her thoughts for 8 months, no longer existed for her. "Excuse me," Maya said, and her voice was so professional, so cold, so perfectly polite, it hurt more than a scream. She left the room without looking back. The sound of her Louboutin heels against the Italian marble faded down the hallway. 16 people remained seated around the table, staring at their laptops, their phones, anything except Victoria. The CFO, Robert Davidson, cleared his throat uncomfortably. The marketing director, Andrea Mills, bit her lower lip. Everyone knew something wasn't right. Maya Chen was the most brilliant creative director the company had ever had. Under her leadership, Innova Tech had won 3 international awards. Clients loved her, the team respected her, and Victoria had just destroyed her in public. "Let's continue," Victoria said, and her voice returned to steel. She opened the next agenda item as if nothing had happened, but her hands, hidden under the table, trembled so much she had to press them against her thighs, so no one would notice. The meeting lasted 40 more minutes. Victoria talked about growth projections, potential new clients, expansion strategies to Austin and Seattle. But every word that came out of her mouth sounded hollow, as if she were reading a script written by someone else. When it finally ended, when everyone filed out with confused looks and barely contained murmurs, Victoria was left alone. She sat there in her Italian leather chair, staring at the place where Maya had been. The midday sun streamed through the windows and cast long shadows across the table. Outside, San Francisco maintained its frenetic rhythm. Cars honking, people hurrying along the sidewalks of SoMa, food trucks serving lunch on street corners. Life continued. Indifferent to the disaster that had just occurred on the 22nd floor of that corporate tower, Victoria closed her eyes, and for the first time in years, she felt control slipping through her fingers. Maya reached her office, ex-office, she corrected mentally, and locked the door. She needed 5 minutes, just 5 minutes before someone came in with the standard cardboard box to collect her belongings. She needed to breathe without anyone watching. She leaned against the door and looked around. 4 years of her life were contained in this 200-square-foot space. Team photos on the wall, sketches of successful campaigns, the succulent plant Robert had given her for her first anniversary, the Cannes Film Festival poster she'd brought from her last trip. All of it meant nothing now. Her phone vibrated. Messages from her team. "Maya, what happened? I don't understand anything. Are you okay? This is insane." She didn't answer any of them. What was she going to say? That the CEO she'd been sleeping with for months had just publicly humiliated her? That she'd been stupid enough to believe Victoria Hayes, the most ambitious and calculating woman she knew, could choose love over her corporate image? She laughed. It was a bitter laugh, short, that ended up sounding more like a sob. But Maya Chen didn't cry at work. She didn't cry in public. So she took a deep breath, straightened her shoulders, and began packing her things. Meanwhile, 3 floors up in the executive office, Victoria closed the door and collapsed into her chair. Her assistant, Jennifer, had tried to follow her, but Victoria had told her she needed to be alone. Now, surrounded by glass walls with a view of all of SoMa, she felt more exposed than ever. Why had she done it? The question echoed in her head like a sound that wouldn't stop. That morning, when she entered the boardroom, she hadn't planned to fire Maya. The plan was to discuss the new Nestlé project, approve the Q2 budget, and maybe, just maybe, find Maya afterward too. What? Apologize for ignoring her for a week? Explain that she couldn't risk someone discovering their relationship? But then she'd seen Maya enter the room. And she'd seen how everyone looked at her with admiration, how Robert stood up to offer her coffee, how Andrea asked about the Coca-Cola pitch, how the entire team gravitated toward her as if she were the sun and they mere planets. And Victoria had felt something dark and ugly in her chest, something she didn't want to acknowledge: envy, fear. Because Maya had something she would never have: the ability to be loved without needing to control everything around her. Then Maya had spoken. She had presented her idea for the Toyota campaign with such brilliance, such passion, that everyone was captivated. And in the middle of that presentation, Maya had looked at Victoria. Just once. Just for a second. But in that look was something dangerous. There was intimacy. There was memory. There were all those nights no one else knew about. And Victoria had panicked, because if someone saw what she saw in those eyes, if someone noticed the way they knew each other, the way Maya could read her better than anyone, everything would collapse. Her credibility, her authority, her empire built with so much sacrifice. So she had done the only thing she knew how to do: attack first. "Maya Chen is terminated from this company, effective immediately." The words had left her mouth before she could stop them. And now, sitting in her executive office with a view of the entire city, Victoria Hayes, the ruthless CEO who never made mistakes, realized she had just made the worst mistake of her life. Her phone vibrated. A text from her mother. "Dinner on Sunday?" Victoria didn't respond. She couldn't think about anything except Maya's expression when she'd stood up from that chair. The way she'd collected her things with such dignity it hurt, the absolute silence that had hung in the air. Outside, the sun began tilting westward. The shadows of SoMa's skyscrapers stretched across the streets. Office workers began leaving their jobs, filling the coffee shops and restaurants on Folsom and Howard. It was a normal day in San Francisco, a day like any other. Except that for Victoria and Maya, nothing would ever be normal again. At 6 p.m, Maya left the building with a cardboard box in her hands and her bag over her shoulder. She hadn't cried. She hadn't screamed. She had packed her things with the same meticulousness she brought to everything in her life. Slowly, with attention to detail, leaving nothing to chance. The security guard, Marcus, saw her leaving and frowned. "Miss Chen? What happened?" "I was fired, Marcus. But why? You're the best they have." Maya smiled at him. It was a sad but genuine smile. Sometimes that's not enough. She walked toward the underground parking garage. Her blue Mini Cooper waited in its usual spot. She placed the box in the back seat and stood there, next to the driver's door, not moving. The garage was silent. It smelled of concrete and gasoline. The fluorescent lights hummed softly overhead. And then finally, Maya let the tears come. She didn't sob. She made no sound. She just let the silent crying run down her cheeks as she stared at the cement floor. She cried for the humiliation. She cried for being stupid enough to believe Victoria could change. She cried for all those nights she'd waited for Victoria to stop being afraid. And she cried because, despite everything, despite the betrayal and pain, part of her still loved her. Upstairs on the 25th floor, Victoria was staring at her phone. She had written and deleted 4 different messages. "I'm sorry. I need to explain. It was a mistake. Please, talk to me." But none of them sounded right. None of them could fix what she'd broken. "Ms. Hayes," Jennifer's voice came through the intercom. "Your meeting with Mr. Chen is in 15 minutes. Victoria closed her eyes. "Cancel it." "But ma'am, it's very important." "I said cancel it, Jennifer." There was silence on the other end. "Yes, ma'am." Victoria stood and walked to the windows. From there she could see all of SoMa stretching to the horizon, the streets of Market filled with boutiques and tech startups, Yerba Buena Gardens with its trees and joggers. In the distance, the towers of downtown gleaming in the late sun. It was her city, her territory, everything she had built. But in that moment, none of it mattered. She picked up her phone and, before she could change her mind, typed, "Can we talk?" The message sent. 3 dots appeared almost immediately, indicating Maya was typing. Victoria felt her heart race, but then the dots disappeared, and no response came. "Subscribe now. YouTube prioritizes subscribers, and those who aren't subscribed miss future stories." Maya drove down Highway 101 without a destination. She didn't want to go to her apartment in the Castro. She didn't want to be alone with her thoughts. So she drove, following the endless flow of red and white lights, while the city transformed into a blur around her. Her phone wouldn't stop ringing, calls from her team, messages from friends who had already heard. In the corporate world of San Francisco, news traveled faster than BART at rush hour. By 7 in the evening, everyone in the tech industry knew that Maya Chen had been fired from Innova Tech, and everyone was wondering why. Finally, she parked at a lookout point at Twin Peaks. It was one of those places she'd known since high school, when she'd come with her friends to smoke in secret and talk about their dreams. She got out of the car and sat on the hood, watching the city lights stretching to infinity. Her phone vibrated. It was Victoria again. "Please, let me explain." Maya typed and deleted 3 different responses. Finally, she didn't respond at all. What could Victoria explain? That she had sacrificed what they had for her corporate image? That the fear of being discovered was stronger than any feeling? She already knew that. She had always known it. The mistake had been believing it could be different. She thought about the first time she'd seen Victoria. It had been at a Forbes conference at the Moscone Center 2 years ago. Victoria was on the main panel, speaking about female leadership in technology. Maya was in the audience, newly hired as creative director, still learning to navigate the corporate world. And when Victoria had spoken with that firm voice, that presence that filled the entire auditorium, something in Maya had awakened. After the panel, they had met at the cocktail reception. Victoria had approached her with a glass of white wine in hand. "You're the new creative director everyone's talking about, and you're the CEO everyone's afraid of." Victoria had smiled. It was a small smile, almost secret. "Are you afraid of me?" "No," Maya had replied, holding her gaze. "You should be." That answer had marked the beginning of everything. A tension that grew over months, fed by meetings that extended longer than necessary, glances that lasted a second too long, conversations that became too personal. Until that night 8 months ago, when they had stayed alone in the office working on the Amazon pitch. It was 2 a.m. The entire building was empty. They had ordered sushi and eaten it straight from the containers, sitting on the floor of Victoria's office. And at some point, between the sake and laughter over an absurd comment, their eyes met. And Victoria, the ruthless CEO who never showed weakness, had said quietly, "I can't stop thinking about you." The kiss that followed was inevitable, urgent, full of all those months of contained tension. And when they finally separated, breathless, lips swollen, Victoria had murmured against her mouth, "No one can know." Those words should have warned Maya of everything that would come after. But in that moment, with Victoria's taste still on her lips, she had accepted. She had accepted the secret meetings in hotels in Palo Alto. She had accepted the midnight calls that could never happen during the day. She had accepted being Victoria Hayes' best-kept secret until she couldn't accept it anymore. Now, sitting at that lookout with the city lights shining below like fallen stars, Maya realized something. She had spent 8 months waiting for Victoria to choose love over fear, and the answer had come today in front of 16 witnesses, with words no apology could erase. Her phone rang. This time it was her best friend, Jessica. "Maya, I just heard. What the hell happened?" "I got fired." "I know that. It's all over the corporate chats. But why? You're the star of that company." Maya closed her eyes. Jessica didn't know about Victoria. No one knew. That had been the deal from the beginning. Differences with management, she lied. Bullshit. Victoria Hayes never fires someone without a reason. There must be something more. "Jess, I really don't want to talk about this right now." There was a pause on the other end. "Okay. Do you want me to come? I can be there in half an hour." "No. I need to be alone." "Maya, I'm serious. I'll call you tomorrow, okay?" She hung up before Jessica could insist. She looked at her phone and saw she had 32 unread messages. She ignored them all. Instead, she opened her photo gallery. She had a hidden folder, password protected. Inside were photos no one else could see. Victoria asleep in her apartment, hair loose on the pillow. Victoria laughing at a restaurant in the Mission where they'd gone disguised with dark sunglasses and baseball caps. Victoria watching the sunrise from the balcony of the Fairmont Hotel, a sheet wrapped around her naked body. Maya scrolled through each photo feeling something like physical pain. Because in these images, Victoria wasn't the cold, ruthless CEO. She was simply a woman in love. A woman who allowed herself to be vulnerable. A woman who, when they were alone, whispered things like, "With you, I can be myself. With everyone else, I have to act." But apparently acting was easier than choosing. She closed the folder and turned off her phone. She sat there as the hours passed, watching the city lights flicker like beating hearts in the distance. The mountain air was cold, and Maya hadn't brought a jacket, but she didn't care. The physical cold was preferable to what she felt inside. Meanwhile, in SoMa, Victoria was destroying her office. Not literally, but metaphorically. She had called Maya 7 times. All 7 had gone to voicemail. She had sent 12 messages. None had been answered. She had considered going to her apartment, but she knew that would only make things worse. At 11 at night, she was still in her office. Jennifer had left hours ago, after insisting 3 times that Ms. Hayes should go home, but Victoria couldn't, because at home, in her Pacific Heights penthouse with its minimalist furniture and perfect view, she would be completely alone with what she had done. Her phone rang. It was her sister Sophie. "I just talked to Robert. He told me about Maya Chen." Victoria closed her eyes. "I don't want to talk about it." "Why did you fire her?" "Robert says everyone's confused. That it doesn't make sense." "It's complicated." "Victoria, what's going on?" The question hung in the air. Sophie was the only person in the world who knew the truth about Victoria. The only one who knew that her older sister, the successful and admired CEO, was a lesbian. And the only one who had suspected during the past few months that there was someone in her life. "It's her, isn't it?" Sophie said quietly. "Maya Chen. I can't talk about this right now. Victoria, what did you do?" And then, for the first time in years, Victoria's voice broke. "I screwed up, Sophie. I screwed up horribly." There was silence on the other end. Then, "I'm coming over." "No, don't come. I'm fine." "You're clearly not fine. I'm coming over and we're going to 20 minutes." She hung up before Victoria could protest. And Victoria sat there in her empty office, surrounded by the symbols of her success, the awards on the shelves, the photos with politicians and important business people, the magazine covers where she appeared as Entrepreneur of the Year, and realized that none of it meant anything without Maya. Her sister arrived 40 minutes later. Sophie was 3 years younger, an architect, married to a man who would never understand what Victoria was going through, but Sophie understood. She always had. She entered the office with 2 Starbucks coffees and a bag of pastries from the corner bakery. "All right," she said, sitting on the leather couch across from Victoria's desk. "Tell me everything. And don't you dare give me the corporate version. I want the truth." Victoria looked at her for a long moment. And then, finally, the words began to flow. She told her everything. The Forbes conference, the months of tension, the night of sushi and the first kiss, the secret hotels, the midnight calls, the way Maya made her feel like she could breathe for the first time in years. And then she told her about the last week, when the panic had started to grow, when she'd begun imagining scenarios where someone discovered them, where her company collapsed, where everything she'd worked for was lost. "And today in the meeting," Victoria finished, her voice barely audible, "when I saw her there, shining so bright, being so perfect, I was afraid. Afraid that someone would notice how I looked at her. Afraid of losing control, so I fired her." Sophie stared at her. "Did you really just say that? I know it sounded terrible." "No, Victoria, it didn't sound terrible. It was terrible. You did that to her because you were afraid someone would know you love her. It's not that simple." "Of course it is," Sophie said, and her voice was harsh. "You're so terrified of being vulnerable, so terrified of someone seeing you as something more than the perfect CEO, that you destroyed the only real relationship you've had in years." Victoria felt tears beginning to form. But she didn't cry. She never cried. "I can't be weak, Sophie. Not in that world. If I show weakness, if I show I have feelings, that I can be human?" Sophie interrupted. "God, Victoria. Being human isn't weakness." "In my world it is." "Then maybe you're in the wrong world." The words floated between them. Outside, the city stayed awake. Cars passed on Market Street. People left bars and restaurants. Life continued, indifferent to the drama unfolding on the 25th floor of that corporate tower. "What do I do?" Victoria finally asked, and her voice sounded lost, like a child's. Sophie sighed. "Go find her. Tell her the truth. Tell her you made a mistake. And then, sis, you're going to have to decide what's more important, your perfect image, or the love of your life." Victoria nodded slowly. She knew Sophie was right, but the fear was still there, coiled in her chest like a snake. Meanwhile, at the Twin Peaks lookout, Maya finally turned on her phone. Notifications exploded. Messages, missed calls, emails. She ignored them all except one. A message from Victoria that had arrived 10 minutes ago. "I don't expect you to forgive me, but I need you to know that what I did today was the most cowardly act of my life. And I miss you so much it hurts to breathe. Please, let me see you. Even if it's just so you can tell me everything I deserve to hear." Maya read the message 3 times. And then, with trembling fingers, she typed, "Tomorrow. Blue Bottle Coffee, 10 a.m. And Victoria. This isn't to fix anything. This is to close what we should have closed a long time ago." She sent the message and turned off her phone again. She didn't want to see Victoria's response. She didn't want to know if she'd written back or if she'd called. Because if she kept talking to her, if she kept allowing her in even a little bit, Maya knew she wouldn't have the strength to walk away. And this time, she had to walk away. For her dignity, for her sanity, for everything that was left of her after today. She started the car and began driving back to the city. The streets were empty at this hour. Just some taxis and Ubers circulating on the freeway. She turned on the radio to fill the silence. But every song sounded like it had been written to mock her. Lost love, broken hearts, broken promises, She arrived at her apartment in the Castro at 1 a.m. It was a small place, a loft on the 4th floor of an old building on Castro Street. She had decorated it with plants, books, and art she'd bought at flea markets and street fairs. It was her refuge, the only place where she could be completely herself. She kicked off her shoes at the entrance and walked barefoot to the kitchen. She needed something strong. She found a bottle of mezcal that Jessica had brought her from Oaxaca and poured herself a shot. She downed it in one gulp, feeling it burn her throat. Her phone vibrated on the table. She had turned it on without realizing. It was Victoria. "Thank you. I'll be there." Maya stared at the message for a long time. Then she deleted it. She deleted all of Victoria's messages. She deleted the voice memos, the photos that weren't in the hidden folder, the screenshots of conversations she'd saved because they made her smile. She deleted everything except the photos in the hidden folder. She couldn't delete those yet. She poured herself another shot of mezcal. And another. Until she felt the world beginning to blur at the edges. Until the sharp pain in her chest became something more manageable. Until she could think about tomorrow without feeling like she was falling apart. She fell asleep on the couch, still dressed in her work clothes, with the lights on and the mezcal bottle half empty on the coffee table. And she dreamed of Victoria, of those dark eyes that could be so cold in the office and so warm in intimacy, of those hands that knew exactly how to touch her, of that voice that could say her name in a way no one else could. But even in dreams, Victoria was far away. Even in dreams, she was unreachable. In her Pacific Heights penthouse, Victoria couldn't sleep either. She lay in her king-size bed, staring at the ceiling, mentally rehearsing everything she would say to Maya tomorrow. "I'm sorry. I love you. I made a mistake. Please give me another chance." But none of those words sounded sufficient. Because how do you compensate for public humiliation? How do you repair broken trust? How do you show someone you're willing to change when your entire history proves otherwise? Her phone was on the nightstand. Every few minutes, she checked it to see if Maya had written anything else. But there was nothing. Just that cold, distant message. "This isn't to fix anything. This is to close what we should have closed a long time ago." The word close haunted her throughout the night. Close. As in end. As in never again. As in everything they had was over because of her. At 5 a.m, she finally got up. There was no point in trying to sleep anymore. She made herself a black coffee, drank it watching the sunrise from her balcony, and wondered if this would be the last time she'd watch the sunrise, knowing there was still a chance with Maya. Because after tomorrow, after that conversation at Blue Bottle Coffee, everything would be over. And Victoria Hayes, the woman who had built an empire and never allowed herself to fail at anything, would have to live with the knowledge that she had failed at the only thing that truly mattered. Blue Bottle Coffee was in Hayes Valley, tucked into a corner on Octavia Street. It was one of those small places with worn wooden tables, plants hanging from the ceiling, and indie music playing softly through the speakers. It wasn't the type of place where Victoria Hayes normally drank coffee. She preferred the corporate chains in SoMa, where she could come and go without attracting attention. But Maya had chosen this place for that exact reason. Here, no one would recognize them. Here, they could talk without fear. Victoria arrived 20 minutes early. She dressed differently than she did at the office. Dark jeans, a simple white blouse, a denim jacket. She had left her hair down for the first time in months. No makeup, no corporate armor. Just her, vulnerable and terrified. She ordered an Americano and sat at a table in the back where she could see the entrance. Every time the door opened, her heart raced. But it wasn't Maya. It was a student with a laptop, a young couple, an older man with a newspaper. 10 o'clock arrived, then 10:05, 10:10. Victoria began to think Maya wouldn't come, that this was her punishment, waiting eternally for someone who would never appear. And then the door opened and there she was. Maya was also dressed differently. Olive green cargo pants, an oversized SF State sweatshirt, Converse sneakers, her brown hair pulled back in a ponytail. no makeup. She had deep circles under her eyes, as if she hadn't slept either. But she was still the most beautiful woman Victoria had ever seen in her life. Their eyes met, and for a moment, everything else disappeared. The coffee shop, the music, the other customers. Only the two of them existed, separated by 10 feet of distance that felt like miles. Maya approached slowly and sat across from Victoria. She said nothing. She just looked at her with those brown eyes Victoria knew so well, waiting. "Thank you for coming," Victoria finally said, and her voice sounded hoarse. "I'm not here for you," Maya replied, and each word was a knife. "I'm here because I deserve to hear why you did that to me in front of everyone." Victoria nodded. She deserved that and more. "What I did yesterday I have no excuse. It was cowardly. It was cruel. It was..." "Why?" Maya interrupted. "That's all I want to know. Why?" Victoria closed her eyes. She had rehearsed this moment all night. But now that she was here, all the prepared words sounded empty. "Because I was afraid." "Afraid of what, Victoria? That someone would know we were together? That your precious corporate image would be affected?" "Yes," Victoria admitted, and the word hurt coming out. "Exactly that." Maya laughed. It was a bitter laugh, without humor. "At least you're honest. I've worked my whole life to build that company. To prove to the world that a woman can be CEO. To show I'm more than capable. And I know it sounds terrible. I know it sounds selfish. But I was afraid that if someone found out about us, everything would collapse." "You know what's saddest?" Maya said, and her eyes shone with unshed tears. "I would have been willing to be your secret. I would have accepted the hidden meetings, the distant hotels, the calls only at night. I would have accepted all of that if you had at least treated me with respect in public. But yesterday, Victoria, yesterday you humiliated me." The words fell like stones between them. Victoria felt something breaking in her chest. "I know, and I have no way to fix it." "No," Maya said. "You can't." A barista approached to take Maya's order. She ordered a chai latte, her favorite drink, and waited in silence until the barista walked away. Then she continued, "For 8 months, I convinced myself that what we had was worth it. Every time you canceled a date because you were afraid someone would see us together, I told myself it was temporary, that eventually you would trust me enough to be public. I was an idiot. You weren't an idiot. I'm the idiot. I'm the one who's so broken inside that I can't choose love over control." Maya looked at her steadily. "Broken. Victoria, you're not broken. You're terrified. And there's a difference. Broken people have no choice. Terrified people do. And you chose fear." The words resonated in the space between them like a verdict. Victoria felt tears beginning to form, but she refused to let them fall. "Not here. Not now." "You're right," she finally said. "About everything. And if I could turn back time, but you can't," Maya interrupted. "What's done is done. And now I have to live with the fact that 16 people saw me get fired for no reason. My reputation is tarnished. My credibility is in doubt. Do you know how many calls I've gotten from headhunters asking what happened? How many competing companies want to know why brilliant Maya Chen was fired from Innova Tech?" Victoria hadn't thought about that, about the professional consequences, about how this would affect Maya's future. "I can get you hired anywhere. I can make calls, write recommendations." "Seriously?" Maya's voice rose. "You think I want your charity? You think I want you to get me a job like you're my mom calling other CEOs to give me an opportunity? God, Victoria, you still don't get it. Then explain it to me. Explain what you need me to do." Maya took a deep breath. When she spoke, her voice was calmer, but also more final. "I need you to let me go, that's all. I need you to stop calling, stop writing, stop appearing in my life. I need space to heal from this, from you." The words were like a physical blow. Victoria felt the air leave her lungs. "What if I can't let you go? Then you're going to have to learn." The barista returned with the chai latte. Maya thanked her and took a sip, looking out the window toward Octavia Street, where the jacarandas were beginning to bloom. It was spring in San Francisco. Everything was being reborn, except what they had had. "There's something I need to ask you," Victoria said after a long silence. "And I want the truth." Maya looked at her. "Do you still feel anything for me?" Victoria asked, and her voice was barely a whisper. Maya closed her eyes. When she opened them, there was something like resignation in them. "That's the most messed up part of all this. Yes, I still wake up thinking about you. I still see your name on my phone and my heart races. I still remember every conversation we had, every night we spent together, every time you looked at me like I was the most important thing in the world. But Victoria, feeling isn't enough. Then what is enough? Respect, dignity, the certainty that the person I love isn't going to destroy me the first time she feels threatened. If this doesn't deserve a like, I don't know what does." Victoria felt the tears finally overflow. She couldn't stop them this time. They ran down her cheeks in silence as she watched Maya, the woman she loved more than anything in the world, walk away from her word by word. "Isn't there anything I can do?" she asked, and her voice broke. "No way to show you I can change." Maya looked at her for a long moment, and Victoria saw something in her eyes. Pain, love, and something that looked dangerously like goodbye. "Victoria, you don't need to change for me. You need to change for yourself. You need to learn that being vulnerable isn't weakness, that loving someone doesn't make you less powerful, that you can be CEO and also be human. But that work you have to do alone, and I can't wait for you while you do it." She stood up from the table. She pulled out a $20 bill and left it next to her barely touched chai latte. "Goodbye, Victoria." "Wait." Victoria stood up too, taking her hand. "Please, just give me time. Give me a chance to show you." Maya gently pulled her hand away. "You had 8 months of chances. And yesterday, when it mattered most, when you had the choice to defend me or destroy me, you chose to destroy me, because I was afraid of losing you in a different way. And now you lost me anyway. The irony is cruel, don't you think?" She walked toward the door. Victoria followed her, desperate. "Maya, please, I love you. That has to mean something." Maya stopped at the entrance. She turned to look at her one last time. And what Victoria saw on her face was something that chilled her blood. It was compassion. Not love, not hope, just compassion. "Love without actions is just a pretty word, Victoria, and your actions told me everything I needed to know." She left the coffee shop without looking back. Victoria stood at the entrance, watching as Maya walked down Octavia until she disappeared into the crowd of pedestrians. People passed around her, entering and leaving the cafe, living their normal lives, completely oblivious to the fact that Victoria's world had just ended. She returned to the table. She sat down. She looked at Maya's chai latte, still warm, barely touched. She picked up the cup with trembling hands and took a sip. It tasted like cinnamon, cardamom, and something else she couldn't identify. It tasted like Maya. It tasted like everything she had lost. She stayed there for 2 hours. The barista approached a couple of times to ask if she needed anything else. But Victoria shook her head. She just needed to be there, in that space where Maya had been moments ago, clinging to the last vestiges of her presence. When she finally left the cafe, the midday sun beat down hard on Hayes Valley. The streets were filled with people shopping at organic markets, walking dogs, having brunch on the patios. Life continued. It always continued, no matter how broken you were inside. Victoria walked aimlessly through the streets. She passed by Patricia's Green, where couples took photos under the trees. She passed by the vintage bookstores on Laguna. She passed by the Victorian houses that made Hayes Valley such a special place. And at every corner, in every window, in every person she saw, she looked for Maya, as if somehow, magically, she could appear and tell her it had all been a test, that she forgave her, that they could start over. But she didn't appear. Her phone rang. It was Sophie. "How did it go?" "She left me." "Oh, Victoria, you were right about everything. And now it's too late to fix it. It's never too late. In this case it is, Sophie. I saw it. I saw in her eyes that it's over, that there's no going back." There was silence on the other end. "What are you going to do?" Victoria looked up at the sky, where clouds moved lazily over the city. "I don't know. But I know I have to learn to live without her. Because that seems to be the only option I have left." She hung up before Sophie could respond. She kept walking. And as she walked, as the city buzzed around her with its beautiful chaos and absolute indifference, Victoria Hayes made herself a promise. Never again would she choose fear over love. Never again would she destroy something precious to protect her image. But that promise came too late for Maya. And that was the price she would have to pay for the rest of her life. 3 weeks. 21 days since that morning at Blue Bottle Coffee. 504 hours since Maya had walked out of her life with those final words that still echoed in Victoria's mind every night when she tried to sleep. Love without actions is just a pretty word. Victoria had returned to work the day after that conversation. She had entered the office in her impeccable suit, her perfect makeup, her corporate mask firmly in place. No one had asked directly about Maya, but the looks said everything. Robert avoided being alone with her. Andrea spoke in a tone that was too professional, too careful. The entire team walked on eggshells around her. And the company was suffering. The Toyota project had been reassigned to an external team. The Coca-Cola pitch had been indefinitely delayed. 2 important clients had specifically asked about Maya, and when told she no longer worked there, they had expressed their concern about the direction of the company. Victoria was in her office reviewing numbers that made no sense when Jennifer knocked on the door. "Ms. Hayes, the board of directors is meeting in the conference room. They're waiting for you." Victoria looked up. She didn't have any scheduled meeting with the board. "Now?" "Yes, ma'am. They said it was urgent." Something in Jennifer's tone made Victoria feel a chill. She stood up, smoothed her skirt, and walked toward the conference room with that firm stride she had perfected over the years. But inside, something told her this wasn't going to be good. When she entered, 5 pairs of eyes looked at her. James Mitchell, the board chairman, Maria Rodriguez, the CFO, 3 major investors. They all had that serious expression Victoria knew too well. It was the expression of, "We have a problem, and that problem is you." "Victoria, please sit down," James said. She sat, maintaining her composure. "What's going on?" Maria got straight to the point. She always did. "We've received 3 resignation proposals from the creative team. Samsung is considering not renewing the contract, and this morning we received a letter from minority shareholders expressing lack of confidence in the current direction of the company." Victoria felt the floor move beneath her feet. "I understand it's been a difficult quarter, but—" "It's not the quarter, Victoria," James interrupted. "It's the firing of Maya Chen. We need to know what really happened, because from here, it looks like you fired your best talent for no valid reason." The silence that followed was crushing. Victoria could feel their eyes on her, waiting for an explanation, a justification, something that would make her decision make sense. "It was—" she began, but her voice sounded weak even to her own ears. "It was a strategic decision based on—" "Based on what?" Maria pressed. "Because the numbers don't justify it. Performance doesn't justify it. And frankly, Victoria, the timing doesn't justify it. We were at our best moment." "Differences in company vision," Victoria lied, and each word tasted like ashes. James looked at her steadily. "Victoria, I've known you for 10 years. I've watched you build this company from scratch. I've watched you fight against everyone and everything to get where you are. But right now I don't recognize you. And I'm not the only one." The words fell like stones in still water, creating ripples that spread and spread. Victoria felt something inside her beginning to crack. "What are you trying to say?" Maria sighed. "We're saying you need to fix this. Bring back Maya Chen, or find a way to repair the public damage her departure caused. Because if you don't, the board will have to make more drastic decisions." The threat hung in the air. Drastic. As in removing her from her position, as in taking away everything she had worked for. "Understood," Victoria said, and her voice sounded hollow. "I'll take care of it." She left the boardroom feeling like she was walking on thin ice. Every step could be the one that made her fall. She returned to her office, closed the door, and for the first time in 3 weeks, she allowed the mask to fall. She collapsed into her chair and looked at the city stretching beyond her windows. SoMa gleamed under the April sun. The streets were filled with people living their lives. And she was here, in her ivory tower, paying the price for her cowardice. Her phone vibrated. A text from Sophie. "How are you? Haven't heard from you in days." Victoria didn't respond. How was she? She was losing her company. She was losing her team's respect. And she had already lost the only person who had managed to see beyond the ruthless CEO. She dialed Maya's number without thinking. It went straight to voicemail. She hung up and tried again. Voicemail again. She tried 5 more times before realizing Maya had blocked her number. That thought, that Maya had erased her so completely from her life, hurt more than everything the board had said. Meanwhile, in a co-working cafe in the Mission, Maya was on a video call with a potential client. She had started her own creative consultancy 3 days after being fired. And to her surprise, clients had come quickly, very quickly. The news of her firing from Innova Tech had spread, yes, but not in the way Victoria feared. People in the industry didn't think Maya was the problem. They thought Victoria Hayes had lost her mind. And now everyone wanted to work with Maya Chen, the creative director so brilliant that even Innova Tech couldn't keep her. The irony wasn't lost on her. "Excellent presentation, Maya," said the marketing director of Ben & Jerry's from the screen. "We'd love to work with you on this project. I'll send you the contract this afternoon." "Perfect, Tom. It'll be a pleasure." She ended the call and closed her laptop. She leaned back in her chair and looked around the cafe. There were other freelancers working, students with their books, a couple arguing quietly in a corner. Normal life. Real life. Her phone rang. It was Jessica. "Done yet? We had lunch plans, remember?" Maya smiled. "Yeah, I'm leaving in 5 minutes. Where are we meeting?" "Foreign Cinema. I'm craving their fried chicken." Half an hour later, they were sitting at one of the tables at Foreign Cinema in the Mission, with fried chicken in front of them and mezcalitas in hand. Jessica was looking at her with that expression Maya knew too well. The expression of, "We're going to talk about something important, and you're not going to be able to avoid it." "Okay, spit it out," Maya said, taking a sip of her mezcalita. "Have you heard anything from her?" Maya shook her head. "I blocked her number." "Really?" "Jess, we had to end this once and for all. I couldn't keep receiving her messages, her calls. It was too much." Jessica nodded slowly, but something in her expression said she had more to say. "What?" Maya asked. "Nothing, it's just, Robert told me things at Innova Tech are bad. Really bad. They said the board is pressuring Victoria." Maya felt a pang in her chest, but she ignored it. "It's not my problem." "Isn't it? Maya, you worked there for 4 years. You built that creative department from scratch. And she destroyed it in 4 seconds. So no, Jess. It's not my problem anymore. Now I have my own company, my own clients, my own life. A life where I don't have to be anyone's secret." The words came out harsher than she intended. Jessica looked at her with those understanding eyes that made Maya want to cry. "You still love her." It wasn't a question. It was a statement. "That doesn't matter," Maya responded. "Of course it matters. Maya, love always matters. Not when the person you love publicly humiliates you. Not when she chooses her image over you. Not when..." Her voice broke. Damn it. She had sworn she wouldn't cry anymore over Victoria Hayes. She had sworn she would get over this, but apparently her heart hadn't gotten the memo. Jessica reached across the table and took her hand. "It's okay to still be angry. It's okay for it to still hurt. You don't have to be strong all the time. But if I'm not strong, if I allow myself to feel all of this, I'm going to fall apart. And I can't fall apart, Jess. I have a company to build, clients to serve, a life to rebuild. You can do all of that and also heal. They're not mutually exclusive. Maya nodded, though she wasn't sure she believed it. They ate in silence for a while, letting the restaurant noise fill the space between them. Foreign cinema was packed as always, with servers running back and forth, the smell of fried chicken and garlic filling the air. You know what's craziest about all this? Maya said after a while. If she walked in right now, if she came through that door and told me she made a mistake, that she's ready to be public, to choose me, part of me would consider forgiving her. And that scares me more than anything else. Because you still love her, Jessica repeated softly. Because I'm an idiot, Maya corrected, but there was a sad smile on her lips. They finished eating and walked through the Mission. It was one of those perfect spring days in San Francisco. Blue sky, perfect temperature, murals blooming on the walls. They walked aimlessly, passing by the bookstores, the coffee shops, the parks where people walked dogs and did yoga. And at every corner, Maya found herself looking for Victoria's face in the crowd. It was pathetic. She knew it. But she couldn't help it. Because despite everything, the pain, the humiliation, the betrayal, part of her still hoped Victoria would appear. That she would fight for her. That she would show love was more important than fear. But she didn't appear. And as the days turned into weeks, Maya began to accept that maybe she never would. Back in SoMa, Victoria was in a meeting with the HR team. She needed to hire a new creative director. But every resume she reviewed, every interview she conducted, reminded her of Maya. No one was as good. No one had that spark. No one understood the vision like she did. Ms. Hayes? The HR coordinator's voice pulled her from her thoughts. What do you think of the candidate? Victoria looked at the man sitting across from her. Late 30s, experience at major agencies, impressive portfolio. On paper, he was perfect, but he wasn't Maya. He's adequate, she finally said. Proceed with the offer. When the candidate left, Victoria was left alone in the conference room. She looked at her reflection in the windows and barely recognized herself. She had lost weight. The circles under her eyes were deep. Her clothes, always impeccable, now fit a bit loose. Her phone vibrated. An email from the board. The subject line said, Executive Performance Review. Urgent. Victoria opened it with trembling fingers. She read the words once, twice, 3 times, trying to process what she was seeing. The board had scheduled a formal review of her performance as CEO. In 2 weeks. And in the email, barely veiled behind corporate language, was the real threat. If things didn't improve, they would consider her removal, everything she had worked for, everything she had sacrificed. Everything was at risk because of a decision she had made in a moment of panic. She laughed. It was a bitter laugh, without humor. Because Maya had been right. She had chosen to protect her corporate image over love, and now she was losing both. Her phone rang. It was Sophie. Vic, can you talk? Now's not a good time. James Mitchell called me. He told me about the performance review. Victoria closed her eyes. Of course he did. James and Sophie had been friends since college. I don't want to talk about it. Victoria, listen to me. You need to fix this. And the only way to fix it is... I'm not going to beg Maya to come back to save my company, Victoria interrupted. She made it very clear she wants nothing to do with me. So you're going to let everything collapse? Everything you worked for? Everything you built? What do you want me to do, Sophie? I already tried talking to her. I already told her I was sorry. You didn't try hard enough, Sophie said. And her voice was harsh. You sent messages. You called her. You had one conversation, but you never really fought for her. You never showed her you were willing to change. I told her I loved her. Words are cheap, Victoria. Maya needs actions. She needs to see that you're willing to choose her over your fear. And until you do that, until you really fight for her, nothing's going to change. Victoria felt something loosen in her chest. Because Sophie was right. She had been so focused on her pain, her loss, her fear, that she hadn't thought about what Maya needed, what she deserved. What if it's already too late? Then at least you'll know you tried everything. That you didn't give up without fighting. and they hung up. And Victoria sat there in that empty conference room, with the weight of all her decisions crushing her. She thought about Maya, about those brown eyes that had seen her like no one else, about those hands that knew every corner of her body, about that voice that could be so sweet in private and so professional in public. She thought about all the times Maya had waited patiently while Victoria canceled plans at the last minute. About all the nights Maya had slept alone while Victoria worked late, too afraid that someone would see them together. About all the "I love yous" whispered that were never said in daylight, and she realized something. Maya had fought for them for 8 months. She had been patient. She had been understanding. She had been the kind of partner Victoria didn't even know she could have. And when she finally asked for the bare minimum, public respect, Victoria had destroyed her. But maybe, just maybe, there was still a way to fix it. Not with words, not with apologies, but with actions. She opened her laptop and began to write. And as she wrote, as the words flowed from her fingers to the keyboard, something inside her began to awaken. It wasn't hope, not yet, but it was something like determination. If she was going to lose everything, at least she would lose it knowing she had tried everything, that she had fought, that she had chosen love over fear, even if it was too late. Maya was in her apartment reviewing proposals when her phone exploded with notifications. Instagram, Twitter, WhatsApp, messages from people she hadn't talked to in years, from college classmates, from former colleagues, from clients, all saying the same thing. Did you see what Victoria did? With her heart pounding in her chest, Maya opened Instagram, and there, in her feed, it was a post from Victoria Hayes. Not on her private personal account that almost no one followed, but on Innova Tech's official account that had over 200,000 followers. It was a photo of the two of them, one Maya didn't know existed. They had gone to Muir Woods one Sunday about 5 months ago, when Victoria had decided they needed fresh air. They had taken selfies at Cathedral Grove, laughing, with the wind tousling their hair. Maya remembered that day. It had been one of the good ones, one of those days when she could believe they had a future. But the caption was what made her heart stop. There are moments in life when fear makes you commit the biggest mistakes. 3 weeks ago, I publicly fired Chen, the best creative director this company has ever had. I told everyone it was a business decision. I lied. The truth is, I fired Maya because I was afraid. Afraid that someone would discover I loved her. Afraid that our relationship would affect my image as CEO. Afraid of being vulnerable in a world that taught me vulnerability is weakness. I was wrong. Weakness isn't loving someone. Weakness is being so cowardly that you destroy what you love to protect your reputation. Chen didn't deserve what I did to her. She deserves a public apology. As public as the humiliation I caused her. She deserves for the world to know I'm a lesbian, that I was in a relationship with her, and that I was the one who didn't have the courage to defend her. I'm not asking her to come back to Innova Tech. I'm not asking for forgiveness. I'm just saying the truth I should have said months ago. I love you, Maya. And I deeply regret not being brave enough to choose you when it mattered most. To my team, my investors, the board of directors. If this affects your perception of me as CEO, I understand. But I can't keep living a lie. I can't keep pretending I didn't make the worst mistake of my life out of fear. And to any woman in the corporate world who's reading this and is afraid of being herself, I hope you learn from my mistakes. I hope you're braver than I was, because hiding who you are to please others isn't worth it. Maya, if you're reading this, I understand if you never want to see me again. But you needed to know that in the end, I chose to tell the truth. Even if it's late. Even if it doesn't matter anymore. Maya read the post 3 times. 4, 5. Her hands trembled so much she almost dropped her phone. She looked at the comments. There were already thousands. The post had gone viral in minutes. Some comments were supportive. Victoria, what courage. I admire you. This is what we need more of in the corporate world. Authenticity. I wish more CEOs had this level of honesty. Others were critical. This is public manipulation. You ruined someone's career and now you expect everyone to applaud? Too little, too late. But most were messages for Maya. Maya Chen, I hope you give her a second chance. This is real love. Give her a chance. If someone does this for you, it's because they truly love you. Comment what will happen now, because your opinion matters more than you think. Maya closed Instagram. Her phone wouldn't stop ringing. Jessica, her mom, Robert, Andrea, people from the industry, reporters asking if she wanted to give a statement. She ignored it all. She sat on her couch, hugging her knees to her chest, trying to process what she had just seen. Victoria had come out, publicly. She had admitted their relationship. She had taken responsibility for the firing. She had done exactly what Maya had thought she would never do. But was it enough? Because yes, it was brave. Yes, it was public. Yes, it was what Maya had wanted for months. But was it also manipulative? Was it a grand gesture designed to force her to forgive? Or was it genuine? Her phone rang. It was an unknown number. For some reason, she answered. Maya Chen? Yes. This is Diana Ramos from TechCrunch. Could you give us a statement about Victoria Hayes' post? Maya hung up. She immediately turned off her phone. She needed to think. She needed to be alone. She needed... Someone knocked on her door. For a moment, she thought about not opening it. But something made her get up and walk to the entrance. She looked through the peephole. It was Victoria. She was standing in the hallway, wearing jeans and a sweatshirt, her hair loose and disheveled, no makeup. She looked exhausted, vulnerable. Nothing like the ruthless CEO the world knew. Maya opened the door, but didn't invite her in. What are you doing here? I needed to see you. I needed to know that you were okay. Okay? Victoria? You just came out publicly and used me as part of your narrative. My phone hasn't stopped ringing. I have reporters calling me. How do you think I am? Victoria closed her eyes. I know, and I'm sorry. I should have warned you first. I should have asked if you were okay with it. But I was afraid you'd say no, and what? You decided to do it anyway. Yes, Victoria admitted. Because I needed you to know I was willing to lose everything for you, even if that means you never forgive me. Maya looked at her for a long moment. She could see the sincerity in Victoria's eyes. But she could also see the fear that this wouldn't be enough, the fear that it was already too late. Come in, she finally said, stepping aside. Victoria entered the apartment as if she were stepping on sacred ground. She looked around, taking in the changes. Maya had reorganized the furniture. She had hung new paintings. She had eliminated everything that reminded her of Innova Tech, of that version of herself that had accepted being a secret. Your post, Maya began, closing the door. What happens now? With the company? With your position? Victoria shrugged. The board has an emergency meeting tomorrow. They'll probably ask me to resign. And you're okay with that? No, Victoria said honestly. I'm not okay. That company is my life. It's everything I've worked for. But, she paused, her eyes meeting Maya's. It's not the most important thing anymore. Then what is the most important thing? You. The word hung between them like a fragile bridge. Maya felt something stir in her chest, but she refused to give in yet. Pretty words, Victoria, but you said that to me before, at the coffee shop. Remember what I told you then? That love without actions is just a pretty word. Exactly. So tell me, what actions are you taking? Because that post, yes, it was public. Yes, it was brave, but it was also convenient. Your company is in trouble. The board was pressuring you. How do I know you didn't do this just to save yourself? Victoria nodded slowly. You're right. You're completely right. And I can't prove my intentions with words. I can only show you with time, with consistent actions, with choosing you again and again, until you finally believe I mean it. And if the board doesn't ask you to resign, what then? Will we continue this? Will we be public? Or will you hide again? No more hiding, Victoria said firmly. Never again. If you give me another chance, Maya, the whole world will know I love you. I'll say it in every meeting, at every conference, in every damn interview they give me. Because I'm tired of being afraid. I'm tired of pretending I can live without you. Maya felt tears beginning to form. No, she couldn't cry. Not again. She had to be strong. She had to protect her heart. I need time, she finally said. I need to see that you're really committed to this. That you're not going to panic the first time someone makes a homophobic comment. That you're not going to regret it when you see how this affects your career. I'll give you all the time you need, Victoria responded. But Maya, can I at least wait for you? Can I have the hope that maybe, eventually, you'll be able to forgive me? Maya looked at her. She saw the fear in her eyes, but she also saw something else. Determination. The same determination Victoria had used to build her company, except now, it was directed at something different. It was directed at her. I don't know if I can forgive you, she said honestly. It still hurts. I still wake up thinking about that day in the boardroom. I still feel the humiliation, and I don't know if I'll ever be able to trust you completely again. I understand. But, Maya continued, and she saw Victoria's eyes light up with a spark of hope. I can give you the chance to prove yourself. I'm not promising anything. I'm not promising it will work, but I can give you a chance. Victoria let out a breath that sounded like she'd been holding it for days. That's more than I deserve. Much more, Maya agreed, but there was a small smile on her lips. Victoria took a step toward her but stopped. Can I hug you? It's been 3 weeks and I've missed you so much and... Come here. Victoria closed the distance between them and wrapped her arms around Maya. And for a moment, everything else disappeared. The pain, the betrayal, the fear. Only this existed. The warmth of Victoria's arms, the familiar scent of her perfume, the sound of her breathing. Maya closed her eyes and allowed herself to sink into the embrace. Just for a moment, just to remember what it felt like to be held by someone she loved. When they finally separated, there were tears on Victoria's cheeks. I promise, she whispered. I'm going to do everything right this time. I'm going to be the partner you deserve. I'm going to choose you every day, and I'm going to fight for us until there's nothing left to fight for. Well, Maya said, wiping Victoria's tears with her thumb. You better start now, because this isn't going to be easy. I'm still angry. It still hurts, and it's going to take time to rebuild trust. I have all the time in the world. They looked at each other for a long moment, and in that silence, more happened than in all the conversations they'd had before. There was incipient forgiveness. There was acknowledged pain. There was fragile but real hope. You should go, Maya finally said. I need to process all of this. Victoria nodded, though it was obvious she didn't want to leave. Can I call you tomorrow? You can try. If I'm ready to talk, I'll answer. That's fair. Victoria walked toward the door. Before leaving, she turned one last time. Maya, thank you for giving me a chance, for not completely closing the door, for everything. Don't thank me yet, Maya responded, because this is just the beginning. You have a lot of work to do if you really want to win me back. I know, and I will. Whatever it takes. She left. And Maya stood in her apartment, heart pounding, mind spinning, and something like hope beginning to bloom in her chest. Outside, the sun was beginning to set over San Francisco. The streets of the Castro were filling with evening traffic. Street vendors were setting up on corners. Life continued, indifferent to the personal dramas unfolding in apartments and offices throughout the city. But for Victoria and Maya, something had changed. They weren't together. They weren't okay. But for the first time in 3 weeks, there was the possibility that maybe, just maybe, they could find their way back to each other. And in that moment, that possibility was enough. The board meeting was exactly as Victoria expected: tense, uncomfortable, and potentially terminal for her career. She sat across from the conference table, looking at the faces she knew so well. James Mitchell with his serious expression. Maria Rodriguez with her lips pressed into a thin line. The three major investors looking at her as if she were a problem they needed to solve. Victoria, James began. Your post yesterday has generated mixed reactions. I imagine so, she replied, keeping her voice steady. We've received 127 emails from clients, some expressing support, others expressing concern, and 3 of our more conservative investors are considering pulling out. Victoria nodded. She had anticipated this. However, Maria continued, we've also received 82 interview requests from media. Forbes wants to do a profile. Bloomberg is interested in a story about LGBTQ+ leadership in tech. And interestingly, 2 new clients have expressed interest specifically because they saw your post. Victoria hadn't anticipated that. The point is, James said, leaning forward, your decision to come out publicly has put the company in a complicated position. Some see us as progressive and authentic. Others see us as unprofessional and dramatic. I understand. And if the board feels my presence is damaging the company, I'm willing to resign. The words came out easier than she expected. Because it was true. If she had to choose between her company and her integrity, between her career and Maya, this time she would choose differently. There was a long silence. The board members looked at each other. Finally, Maria spoke. Victoria, no one's asking for your resignation. Yet. Yet? What we're saying is that you need to handle this professionally. The post was dramatic, but it was also honest. And honestly, the tech industry needs more honesty about diversity and inclusion. James nodded. However, you need to bring Maya Chen back, or at least publicly resolve the situation of her firing. Because now that the world knows the truth, firing her looks even worse than it did before. Maya has her own consultancy now, Victoria said. I don't think she wants to come back. Then offer her something she can't refuse, Maria suggested. A better title, more autonomy, a significant salary increase. Whatever's necessary to repair the public damage. I'm not going to bribe her to come back. It's not bribery, James said. It's appropriate compensation for the mistake you made. It's doing the right thing, corporately and personally. Victoria considered this. She knew they were right. But she also knew Maya wouldn't respond well to a corporate offer. She needed something more, something real. I propose something different, she finally said. Let me handle this my way, and if in a month things haven't improved, I'll accept your decision about my future here. The board members looked at each other. After a moment, James nodded. 1 month. But Victoria, this is your last chance, not just with the company, with all of us. Understood? Understood. She left the meeting feeling the weight of that deadline. 1 month to fix what she'd broken. 1 month to prove she could be both CEO and human. 1 month to win back Maya. Meanwhile, Maya was at her favorite co-working cafe when she received a call from an unknown number. Normally she wouldn't answer, but after yesterday's bomb, everything seemed potentially important. Hello? Maya Chen? This is Patricia Gomez from Nike North America. Maya sat up straight in her chair. Yes, that's me. We've been following your work for years, and after what happened with Innova Tech and yesterday's post, well, we want to talk to you about leading our creative division for all of North America, based in San Francisco. Maya almost dropped her phone. Seriously? Completely serious. I'll send you the details by email. But I wanted to call you personally to say that what Victoria Hayes did was professionally unforgivable, and we want you to know there are companies that value talent above all else. After hanging up, Maya stared at her phone for long minutes. Nike. One of the biggest companies in the world, leading the entire North American creative division. It was the kind of opportunity that came once in a lifetime, but it would mean returning to the corporate world. It would mean structure, hierarchies, office politics, everything she'd been avoiding since starting her consultancy. Her phone vibrated. A text from Victoria. "Can we see each other today? There's something I want to show you." Maya considered ignoring it, but she had said she would give her a chance, and chances required showing up. "Where?" she typed. "My place. Please. It's important." Maya hesitated. Victoria's place was loaded territory. They had spent so many nights there. So many good memories mixed with all the recent pain. Okay. 6 p.m. She arrived at Victoria's Pacific Heights penthouse exactly at 6. The doorman recognized her and let her up without asking. When the elevator doors opened on the 24th floor, Victoria was waiting in the hallway. "Thank you for coming," she said, and her voice was soft. Maya nodded, following her inside. The apartment looked different. The walls that used to be decorated with corporate awards now had photos. Photos of the two of them, at Muir Woods, in the Mission, at that hotel in Napa Valley. All the photos Maya thought had remained hidden in secret folders were now framed and hanging for anyone to see. "What is this?" Maya asked. "It's my way of showing you I'm not hiding anymore," Victoria responded. "My mom is coming to visit tomorrow. My sister is here all the time with her husband. Anyone who enters this apartment is going to know I love you, that you're important to me, that you're not my secret." Maya walked slowly through the space, looking at each photo. In all of them, they looked happy, in love, as if nothing could separate them. "Victoria, wait, there's more." Victoria took out her laptop and opened it on the dining room table. "I've been working on something, a diversity and inclusion program for Innova Tech, specifically focused on creating safe spaces for LGBTQ+ employees, stronger non-discrimination policies, benefits for same-sex partners, mentorship for queer professionals in technology." Maya looked at the screen. It was a 40-page document, meticulously detailed, with budgets, timelines, and success metrics. "I'm presenting it to the board next week," Victoria continued, "and I want you to be part of this, not as an employee, as a consultant, with your own contract, your own terms, your own autonomy. I want you to help me build this, to make Innova Tech the kind of company where no one else has to hide like I did." "Why?" Maya asked. "Why now?" "Because you were right, about everything. I was so busy trying to be perfect, trying to be the CEO everyone expected, that I forgot to be human. I forgot that real leadership isn't about controlling everything. It's about being authentic. It's about creating spaces where others can be authentic too." Maya sat on the couch, processing all of this. "Nike offered me a job today," she said suddenly. She saw Victoria's face go pale. "Nike? Creative director for all of North America. It's huge, Victoria. It's the kind of position I've always dreamed of having." "Then you should take it," Victoria said, though it was obvious it hurt her to say it. "You deserve that opportunity. You deserve everything. You see? That's what confuses me about you. 3 weeks ago, you fired me to protect your image, and now you're willing to let me go even if it means losing you forever. What changed?" Victoria sat next to her on the couch, leaving space between them. "What changed is that I finally understood something I should have understood from the beginning. Loving you isn't about having you. It's about wanting what's best for you, even if that means you're not with me. I was selfish. I thought I could have you on my terms, hidden, secret, safe from my fear. But you deserve more. You deserve someone who shouts your name from the rooftops, who introduces you to their family with pride, who never ever makes you feel like you're something that needs to be hidden. And you, can you be that person? I'm trying. I'm not perfect. I still get scared sometimes. I still worry about what people think, but now I know those fears can't control me. They can't make me hurt the people I love." Maya felt something in her chest loosen, something that had been tight for weeks. "I'm still angry with you," she said. "What you did still hurts. I know. And I don't know if I'll ever be able to trust you completely again. I know that too. But Maya paused, searching for the right words. I appreciate this. The diversity program, the photos, the effort, it's a start. Just a start? Victoria, rebuilding trust doesn't happen overnight. It's going to take time. It's going to take consistency. It's going to take you showing me, again and again, that choosing me wasn't just a momentary impulse, that it's a decision you make every day. Victoria nodded. Then that's what I'll do. Every day. For as long as it takes. They looked at each other for a long moment. And then, slowly, Maya reached out and placed her hand on Victoria's. It wasn't a hug. It wasn't a kiss. It was just that. Two hands meeting halfway. About Nike, Maya said. I'm going to turn down the offer. What? No, Maya. It's an amazing opportunity. I know. But I realized something these past few days. I don't want to work for anyone else. I want to build something of my own. My consultancy is growing. I have good clients. I have autonomy. And if I'm going to do your diversity program, it will be on my terms, as an independent consultant, not as anyone's employee. A slow smile spread across Victoria's face. That sounds perfectly you. It is. They stayed there, on Victoria's couch, with their hands intertwined, watching the sunset over Pacific Heights through the windows. They weren't where they had been 8 months ago, when everything was new and exciting and easy, but maybe they were in a better place. A more honest place. A place built on truth instead of secrets. Victoria? Maya said after a while. Yes? I know you said you need time, and I respect that. But can we at least be friends in the meantime? Can I call you once in a while? Have coffee together? Work on the program together? Maya considered the question. We can try. But Victoria, I need you to understand something. If we get back together, if we eventually reach that point, it will be different. No more secrets. No more hiding. We'll be completely public. And if that scares you, if you're not ready for that, then it's better we just stay friends. It doesn't scare me, Victoria said firmly. Not anymore. Because the only thing that scares me more than being public is losing you again. Good. Then we have a deal. They stayed until late, talking about the diversity program, about Maya's clients, about everything and nothing. And when Maya finally left, close to 11 at night, they both knew something had changed. They weren't together. Not yet. But they were on their way. And this time, it was a path they had both chosen with their eyes completely open. The days turned into weeks, and the weeks turned into 2 months. During that time, Victoria and Maya saw each other regularly. At first, it was just to work on the diversity program. Meetings at coffee shops, video calls to review documents, brainstorming sessions about how to implement the policies. But slowly, inevitably, they began seeing each other for other reasons too. Coffee on Sunday mornings at Sightglass in the Mission. A walk through Golden Gate Park on Saturday. Dinner at Zuni Cafe where Victoria insisted on paying because this isn't a date, but it's not just friendly either. Maya kept her boundaries. They didn't spend time at each other's apartments. They didn't stay too late. They didn't cross physical lines, but the tension was there, constant, reminding them of what they'd had and what they could have again. Victoria kept every promise. She presented the diversity program to the board, and after some negotiations, it was approved with a generous budget. She gave 3 interviews openly talking about being a lesbian CEO. She brought Maya as her companion to an industry gala, introducing her as the consultant I'm working with and the woman I love, without shame, without hesitation. The reaction was mixed. Some conservative clients left, but new ones came, specifically because Innova Tech now represented authenticity. Forbes did an extensive article about her titled, "The CEO Who Chose Love Over Fear." They even began receiving resumes from LGBTQ+ professionals who wanted to work in an environment where they could be themselves. And slowly, the company began to heal. It wasn't easy. Robert still had moments of discomfort. Some of the old team left, but the new employees brought fresh energy, fresh ideas, and a culture that was more open, more honest, more human. Maya, for her part, flourished. Her consultancy grew to have 5 major clients, including Google SF and Anchor Brewing. She hired 2 employees, a designer and a copywriter, and began thinking about expanding. She was her own boss. She made her own decisions. And for the first time in her professional life, she felt completely free. But every night, when she checked her phone before bed, there was a message from Victoria. Sometimes it was something simple. "Good night. Hope you had a good day." Other times it was deeper. "I saw this and thought of you," with a photo of something she liked. And occasionally it was vulnerable. "I miss you, but I respect your space. Just wanted you to know." And every night, Maya responded. Not always immediately, not always with the same warmth, but she responded. Because the truth was, she missed her too. She missed the deep conversations at 3 a.m. She missed the way Victoria looked at her as if she were the most fascinating thing in the world. She missed feeling loved in that complete, absolute way. The turning point came 3 months after the Instagram post. It was Maya's birthday, 32 years old. She had planned a small dinner with friends at State Bird Provisions, Jessica, Robert, Andrea, some of her new clients who had become friends. She hadn't invited Victoria because she still wasn't sure how to explain their relationship to her wider circle, but Victoria showed up anyway. She arrived at the restaurant at 8 p.m, when everyone was already seated. Maya saw her enter and felt her heart stop. Victoria wore a simple navy blue dress, hair down, minimal makeup. She didn't look like a CEO. She looked like the woman Maya had fallen in love with. She walked directly to the table. "I'm sorry for arriving uninvited," she said, looking at Maya. "But it's your birthday, and I couldn't not be here." The entire table fell silent. Jessica looked at Maya with huge eyes. Robert almost spit out his wine. Andrea smiled as if she'd been waiting for this moment. Maya stood up. "Come," she said, taking Victoria's hand. "Let's go outside for a moment." They went out to the small patio of State Bird. It was a perfect June night. The air smelled of jasmine and the string lights hung in the trees created dancing shadows on the ground. "I can't believe you came," Maya said. "I had to. Because this morning I woke up and realized something. I've spent 3 months showing you I can be better. 3 months trying to earn another chance. But what I haven't done is tell you clearly and directly what I want. And what do you want?" Victoria took both of Maya's hands. "I want you. I want us to be a couple again. I want to introduce you to my mother as my girlfriend, not as my consultant. I want to wake up with you on Sundays and make breakfast together. I want to fight with you about stupid things and then make up. I want to build a life with you, a real life, public, honest." Maya felt tears beginning to form. "Victoria, and I know you're still scared. I know it still hurts. I know I betrayed you in the worst possible way. But Maya, these 3 months have taught me something. Life without you isn't worth living. So here I am, on your birthday, in front of all your friends, declaring my love. And if you tell me no, I'll accept it. But I had to try. I had to give you all of me." Maya looked at her for a long moment. She could see the sincerity in Victoria's eyes. She could see the fear too, but above all, she could see love. That same love she'd seen 8 months ago when it all began, except now it was stronger, deeper, more real. "You know what's crazy?" Maya finally said. "I miss you too. Every damn day. I see something funny and want to share it with you. I have a bad day and want to call you. I accomplish something at work and want to celebrate it with you. You've been patient. You've been consistent. You've shown with actions, not just words, that you changed. So yes. Yes, Victoria. Let's give it another chance. But if ever you hide us again, get scared, choose your image over us, it's over. Understood?" "Understood," Victoria said, and her smile was so bright it lit up her entire face. "I promise. Never again." They looked at each other for a moment that felt eternal. And then Victoria asked, "Can I kiss you?" "I thought you'd never ask." The kiss was everything they'd been holding back for 3 months. All the pain, all the hope, all the love. They lost themselves in it, forgetting where they were, forgetting there was a restaurant full of people a few feet away. When they finally separated, Jessica was standing at the patio entrance with a huge smile. "Are you two done with your telenovela? Because there's cake inside and it's melting." Maya laughed. "Come on," she told Victoria. "I'm going to officially introduce you to everyone. As your girlfriend, as my girlfriend." They returned to the table holding hands. And when Maya made the introduction, "This is Victoria, my girlfriend," there was applause. There were hugs. There were toasts and laughter and that kind of joy that only comes when you finally decide to be completely honest about who you are and who you love. And as Maya blew out the candles on her cake, with Victoria sitting beside her, surrounded by friends who supported them, she thought, this is what it feels like to be complete. Not because she had Victoria, but because she had finally chosen to love herself enough to demand what she deserved. And Victoria had chosen to be brave enough to give it to her. The following months were different from the first 8 months of their relationship. Now everything was public. Victoria posted photos of them on Instagram. Maya mentioned them in interviews as my partner. They went to dinners with each other's families. They planned vacations together. They discussed the future, about eventually moving in together, about what they wanted to build. It wasn't perfect. Victoria still had moments of panic when she read homophobic comments online. Maya still had days when the wound of the firing hurt, but the difference was that now they talked about those moments. They didn't hide. They didn't pretend everything was fine when it wasn't. And slowly, trust was rebuilt, layer by layer, promise by promise, action by action. The Innova Tech diversity program became a model for other companies. Victoria began giving talks about authentic leadership. Maya wrote a viral article about how to survive being publicly fired by your secret partner that resonated with thousands of people, and together, they began building something new. Not the perfect relationship they had imagined at the beginning, when everything was secret and exciting, but something better. A real relationship, with flaws, with history, with scars that reminded them where they'd come from and how much they'd fought to get here. One September afternoon, 6 months after that birthday dinner, they were lying in Maya's apartment. It had been a long day for both. Victoria had had problems with a difficult client. Maya had spent hours trying to resolve a conflict between her employees. They were exhausted, curled up on the couch, watching a movie neither was really watching. "You know what's weird?" Maya said suddenly. "What?" "If someone had told me a year ago that we were going to go through all this, the firing, the separation, the rebuilding, I wouldn't have believed we'd make it through." "Me neither. But we did." "Yes," Victoria said, kissing her forehead. "We did. Do you think it was worth it? All the pain?" Victoria thought about the question for a long moment. "I think I wish I hadn't had to hurt you to learn what I learned. I wish I'd been braver from the beginning. But yes, it was worth it, because now I know who I really am. And I know I can choose love over fear. And that's something I didn't know before." Maya nodded against her chest. "I learned I can't be anyone's secret, that I deserve to be loved openly, that I can be strong even when I'm broken. So yes, it was worth it for me too." They stayed silent for a while, listening to the sound of the city outside. Cars passing on Castro, voices of people walking down the street. Life continuing its eternal rhythm. "I love you," Victoria murmured. "I love you too," Maya responded. "Even when you're impossible, even when you drive me crazy, even when I wake you up at 2 a.m. because I had an idea for work? Especially then," Maya said, laughing. And as night fell over San Francisco, as the lights of the Castro began turning on one by one, they stayed there, together, finally, completely together. Not as a secret, but as a promise that love, when it's real, when it's brave, when it's willing to fight for itself, always finds a way. Always. San Francisco continued its indifferent rhythm, with its millions of stories unfolding simultaneously in apartments and offices and streets. But this story, the story of Victoria and Maya, was one worth remembering, not because it was easy, but because it wasn't, and the best stories never are. Outside, in the streets of SoMa and the Castro, in the cafes of Hayes Valley, and the offices of downtown, life continued. Other couples met, fell in love, faced their own fears. Other professionals struggled with the balance between authenticity and ambition. Other people learned that love requires more than feelings. It requires courage. And in that Castro apartment, with the lights low and the sound of the city as a soundtrack, Victoria and Maya were writing the next chapter of their story. They didn't know what would come. They couldn't predict future challenges. But they knew this. They would face everything together. And this time, without fear. If you want the continuation of this story, write it in the comments, because that's the only way I'll know what you want. And don't forget that YouTube only prioritizes subscribers, so subscribe now so you don't miss the next story that will make you believe in love and second chances. This is just the beginning.